Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me tonight, and we're just down one who will be jumping in once she can, are Prospero.
Hello.
Jenna.
Hola.
SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
JohnnyHellcat.
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you?
Nice. And we will be getting joined by... Oh, I was just about to say we will be getting joined. I bought enough time. SoraLuna.
Me.
It's me.
Hi, Sora.
Hello.
Nice to see you. It's nice to see you back tonight, Jenna, by the way. Nice to see everybody.
Yes.
Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I'm finally feeling better and
Yay. Right.
And how is everyone doing tonight?
Lovely.
Talk at
Jump
once.
into the topic.
Yeah.
Let's go for Prospero first.
I'm fine.
No one else is responding.
I'm fine.
Then
How are you?
continue round in that circle.
Well, I was going to do my propers, please. How are you this evening?
I'm doing grand. And yourself?
You just asked me how.
Yep.
you already.
It's a reflex whenever I'm asked how I'm doing.
That's
It's
an
always-
infinite loop.
Okay,
Yeah,
see.
That's very enjoy your meal. Yeah, you too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you too. Yeah. Thank you.
Like I said, it just becomes a reflex. I'm so
I know.
used to just every time someone goes, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing well."
It's like you're sick as a dog. You're sitting in the doctor's office. The doctor comes in and he goes, "Okay, how are you doing?" And you're, "I'm fine, thank you. How are you?"
I felt so well, I thought I'd come see you and tell you the good news myself.
But let's go on to Jenna next.
Besides my neck and my hip, I'm great.
Hey, that's only two things.
Okay. Then let's go to Johnny.
I am so glad that it's Friday.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the weekend.
Oh yeah, it's oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Sadly for me, it is my Sunday, effectively.
Poop.
Yep. So tomorrow night I go back to work. Then SkepTock.
Yes.
How you doing?
Old. But fine. Everything went fine today. It just was another day in the life of an itinerant laborer. You know, I've had every other job on Earth except migrant worker. So we thought we'd try that.
Yeah, your wife decided to rectify that, and
Yeah, exactly. She's my foreman.
She comes home from work. He's playing Cesar Chavez speeches.
You need to sell that at the farmer's market. Those veggies and stuff look yum.
I know you really should do that. Just wait till about the time she comes home and then queue up something on YouTube.
No, actually, what people with big gardens do around here is they just pack that bad boy in the back of their small little SUV and park it out of town. There's a couple of designated places where the local authorities will allow people to sell fruit and vegetables out of the back of their vehicle, and you don't really have that formal relationship with the IRS when you do it that way.
This is true.
You know.
And it's better than stealing by dead of night to leave zucchini on your neighbor who left you a bag of it the day after, before.
It's bad when you start seeing the same zucchini that you gave.
Yeah, I signed that personally. Why did you return it to me?
I put a barcode on it, asshole.
Okay.
Don't send me that fucking zucchini back. No, it's been wonderful. This year has been the year when the confluence of my wife's knowledge, and I'm not going to take any credit there because I just do manual labor, but my wife's knowledge of what it takes to grow a successful garden, all the zillions of little things that you have to do, you have to know what to do. And you get them from all different places. You get those hints from all different places. Both are life experience and spending a lot of time online, and plus just the trial and error that we've had from doing this for now 3 years. It's just you know, we know what works and know what doesn't work. By the way, paradichlorobenzene mothballs in your garden
Yes.
to get rid of snakes, like fucking magic.
I've heard
The
it'll
the snakes
keep
have
squirrels away too.
vanished. Oh yeah.
Why do I now have a feeling that you have a container of mothballs just with its name crossed out and St. Patty written beneath it?
That's great. I think Skep had sound.
Sora, how are you?
It's a little jar called Me Lucky Charms.
Nice.
Oh, I'm
Sora,
sorry.
how are you?
Not a problem at all. And why is Jenna just now stuck in her own little loop of good, how are you?
I'm saying Sora, how are you?
Oh, sorry. Okay. It sounded like you were saying good, how are you just a couple times in a row. And I'm going, someone just slapped Jenna. I think the needle's stuck.
It's Bostonian R abuse.
Oh, it's also Sanguine wandering around in the kitchen while people were talking.
That's a real possibility too.
No, I
suppose.
can hear it proper. I have headphones.
Yeah, that's why you heard it proper. I heard Sora, how are you?
I
So-
just have trouble understanding Jenna sometimes.
I actually had an interesting
Don't worry,
Twitter.
I
Hey,
have
does
trouble
Sora get to
understanding
answer
Jenna.
how she is?
Oh, I'm sorry. I go ahead,
okay.
Sora.
I'm good. Thank you for asking, Jenna.
You're welcome.
So
83% of us heard Sora, how are you? And that leaves only one of us.
yeah, like I said, every now and then I have trouble understanding Jenna when I'm picking something up, especially.
I feel sad for you.
He never
So-
lived in New England. That's his problem.
I lived many other places in the country, but
That
never New
doesn't.
England.
Yeah, that doesn't help with the New England accent.
Yep.
It really doesn't. New England accent is booger to get figured out.
When I lived in Connecticut, I got put in speech whatever because
Speech therapy.
I didn't pronounce my R's and they thought there was something wrong with me.
I was really, for a moment there, hoping that you were about to butcher the R in therapy when you said
Therapy.
it. It would have just been beautiful. For a while, I was put in speech therapy.
It never starts.
Oh.
She doesn't Elmer Fudge it though.
Yeah.
No, it's she doesn't.
She's not doing that.
She doesn't put her R's in at the end of words, which is what
Right.
every Massachusetts person, it seems, who is a
Why we're
native.
Harvard
math
Yard.
Have it, pack, cad, use your fucking blinker. The
Where's the clicker?
where's the
Wicked
click?
smart.
Yeah, wicked smart. It's wicked pissa.
Oh God, my sister who lived in Boston for 35 years, Topsfield, if you know where that is, absolutely adopted that accent and is the most obnoxious thing when she's doling out Al Gore's latest wisdom from some book she's subscribed to, and telling us how we should live our lives. That Boston accent is just more than I can stand.
So Al Gore said,
Exactly. That's exactly the way she sounds. God, that was eerie.
yeah.
That really is what Susan sounds like. My God.
I lived up there long enough to make fun of them.
Yeah.
Al Gore, and
I've lived here my whole life and make fun of them too. And myself.
You actually are not all that horrible with your R's, Jenna.
No, she's not even bad, really.
No.
Well, I had to learn to speak again, so.
There are people up there you really have trouble understanding.
See, I don't
And if
think
they have a little bit of a speech impediment along with that,
Oh,
my
Christ,
God,
yeah.
it's just mushmouth.
So what you're
I think
saying
the
is
ones
they
that-
imported a speech coach for you rather than just using one of the locals?
No, those
Yeah,
Connecticut people were being deliberate assholes. They knew she was from Massachusetts and they were making a point.
Connecticut people are assholes.
I was just going to say,
Connecticut.
Connecticut, the word
Connecticut.
Connecticut in Algonquin means assholes, means we are assholes.
Yeah.
We the assholes.
That's why they have that hidden C in it so that it's Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to be assholes.
Yep. That's,
because we're Connecticutians. We're assholes.
Connecticut.
and we have a great big fucking casino outside of Mystic. It's awesome.
Connecticut is what we used to call it when I was spending a week out of every month in Boston, and occasionally would have to go down to Connecticut to Hartford. And oh my God, that was way too much New England. That's too much goddamn New England for a long time.
No. Connecticut is technically New England, but it's the New England that it's that relative you're ashamed of.
Yeah, it's the New York part of New England. It's the nasty part. It's the shitty part.
There are some really pretty parts of the state, and part of the problem is
Darien is not one.
Well, yeah, it's along that eastern seaboard run of 95 up there. The Connecticut Turnpike. There used to be toll booths like every 15 fucking feet.
Right.
It was worse than the Garden State Parkway.
It was worse than New Jersey. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Absolutely obnoxious. And you'd get up ahead of steam and be driving and come to a stop and crawl through the toll booth and get up ahead of steam and crawl through the toll booth. It took forever to get through fucking Connecticut. And then if you're on the I-95 corridor, it's a lot better now because they widened the road and they improved it. But the drive through Providence used to be exactly what Providence was worth, an entire bucket of shit.
Yep.
Well, if you get on 290 instead of I-90, you skip all of Providence.
Yeah, I know. But I was trying to make the best time from Richmond to Boston.
I'm just giving tips.
I know. I don't drive up there anymore because I don't live up there. Yay!
Well, now they just scan your license plate and you don't even have to stop.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
It's great.
And now that we've covered most of the standard pleasant
drink, everybody. We were talking about a map.
Shall we jump into the topic for the day, which, for those that are listening along, the reason why it is euphemistically speaking is I came up with the idea that we should talk about how fucking insanely euphemistic the English language is. From really basic things that are just effectively polite social lies. I'm going to go powder my nose. Everyone knows what you mean. It's just a hell of a lot nicer than I'm going to go take a massive shit in your toilet. That okay?
Well, yeah, or go see a man about a dog or a man about a horse.
There's all these different euphemisms that we just use in day-to-day life that are normal for us because that's how we speak in the vast majority of contexts. And then there's also so those are in the benign to good versions of euphemisms that we use. And then there's also the somewhat dangerous euphemisms normally used by the government.
Where it's funny because I hear you talk about euphemisms. I think of them in a more of a general way. I think of them as a property of English, and I think of I tend to categorize them like the protective euphemism, which kind of shields and avoids offense, right? And then you have the underhand euphemism, which kind of mystifies and misrepresents. So there are different types of euphemisms that are functionally different. You got stuff that uplifts you, to inflate the importance of something or whatever. You can be provocative with a euphemism. You can reveal things with a euphemism. You can inspire people. There's other stuff you can show, like solidarity with a group. So you can have like a cohesive euphemism and help define who's in the gang and who's not in the gang. And then obviously there's just the fun and entertaining euphemisms. Okay, rant over about euphemisms.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is euphemisms are quite similar to metaphors, and because they're a placekeeper for bluntness, and the English language is quite rich in its literature and poetry. I mean, we have a remarkable body of work. Not all of it is Shakespeare. I mean, as the language came into being, there were master writers crafting the language and giving us metaphorical speech that really kind of became woven through that into how English is spoken, both in Great Britain, Australia, throughout the Anglosphere. And I think it's interesting because it seems a practice and almost a way to master the language is to master metaphor and master euphemism.
Well, that's true. Have you ever heard of Margaret Mead?
Yes.
She studied euphemisms. This is from an anthropology class I took in the 70s. But anyway, Margaret Mead studied, among other things, the linguistic aspects of people in Polynesia, specifically of the people of a place called Tonga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Tongans are big on taboos, on things you don't do. You know, you don't scratch your chest with your left hand, just because it's taboo. It's just a social taboo. Taboos of like social convention in their society rest on traditions of etiquette and custom, and they're set by kind of social parameters, really. If you think about it, like age, sex, education, social status, the usual anthropological laundry list of things sets the social parameters for taboos, and and what the Tongans have raised to an art form is using euphemisms to negotiate these taboos. And you say that English has the most euphemisms. It might be Tongan. Tongan life is almost conducted in euphemisms.
No, I didn't. I mean, what I was saying is just the rich texture of English gives rise to a great amount of metaphor and euphemism.
The potential is amazing.
Island culture and isolated populations that get larger. I mean, it's all been noted how Japan is a very polite culture and somewhat euphemistic in that, because there are ways of not insulting people. Britain is an island, and when you have nowhere to go to get away from people, you need to get along with people, and politesse.
You're really talking about the euphemisms that lubricate the social interactions between people. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And the ones that don't are effectively, at least to my mind, they're the maladaptive.
Yes.
It's not that they're maladaptive, saying you're almost right, I think. But if you go back into court records, I had to look this up. This was actually an article that's existed for a long time. And I'm not going to read the article to you. I just want to read you some of the euphemisms that were used around 1850 in a certain courtroom in London. Mr. Nineveh Stewart is portrayed as a long-nosed, lank-jawed, hypocritical-looking shoemaker. Robert Tyndall is referred to as a henpecked old man. I know about that. Leah Harris is a handsome Jewess. Miss Mary Ann Walsh is a middling-aged spinster. Miss Elizabeth Hilton, a tall, powerful woman whose face outvies in colors those of a round of spiced beef. and this one, remember, I am an anthropologist, so I get to say these words. Donald Mackenzie, or Darky Ken, as an ogre-like Negro of the dirtiest black color imaginable. That is from a court record in England in the 1850s.
So
No shit.
subtle, the British language.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
But those are considered euphemisms because they paint a picture
Yeah.
using words that really are not directly related to the thing that is being described, to imply by analogy or simile or whatever.
Or metaphor. Yeah.
Metaphor, that's the, thank you.
You're
A
welcome.
metaphor! What's going on. Okay, I don't want to take this
I
over
mean,
because I can lecture for hours on this shit.
I consider euphemisms to be a metaphorical device. Where similes are
Sure.
the use of the word as or like, where you're doing direct comparison. Whereas metaphor is it's a bit loftier. It's not always misdirection. Many times it's more complimentary than it necessarily required.
Mm-hmm.
It pretties up language.
But you have things like, you turn like death, for example, into substantive negative patient care outcome. A diagnostic misadventure of the highest magnitude.
Yes.
Or a terminal episode. Killing the unlawful becomes arbitrary deprivation of life because you're trying to get a message across. So they're not always directly descriptive, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they have an agenda.
Does this include the quote unquote soft language that was spoken about by Carlin?
Yeah. Yes, where we use a term like the fog of war, because it, as opposed to smoke, shock, guts, blood, horror,
or just saying it directly like confusion.
Or confusion.
You use fog because it's a little bit. It's a term of art, isn't it?
And it's a bit kinder because one doesn't want to think one's generals and one's troops are confused on the battlefield. They like to think of it as a very orderly and heroic process. And we facilitate that by not telling them the truth. Mm-hmm. Because there are certain things that people don't need to know. They really don't. It keeps their psyche less damaged. We euphemize a lot around children. We soften language quite deliberately. We don't just say so-and-so died, they passed away.
Yeah, I was about to say also the polite society aspect where the...
Do no harm with the language.
More genteel the listeners, the more likely you are to
I think a lot of times it comes from a place of not being harsh. The reality is harsh enough. The language does not have to reinforce that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a comfort in the term passed away that does not exist in died. It's because died is a period to the end of a sentence. Passed away kind of implies they've moved on.
A hopeful
else.
Continuum exists. Somewhere beyond this mortal coil.
And that is an act of linguistic kindness that is a social lubricant, very much so, because people aren't fools, but they also require certain emotional care
or handling.
Yeah.
For example, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. I remember this, and I just looked up. I found this list. They compiled a glossary of euphemisms for the drug business. To get snotty is to use heroin. Candy sticks are marijuana cigarettes laced with powdered cocaine. Gym sticks are steroids used by athletes. Hugs and kisses, my favorite, is methamphetamine and methylene dioxymethamphetamine, or MDMA. Lipton tea, also called lemonade, that's the term they use for poor quality drugs or drugs that have been stepped on.
Mm-hmm.
And the absolute creme de la weird, you know what they call crack addicts?
Oh God, what?
No.
Klingons.
Oh my!
That's an insult to Klingons.
It is, but it's so funny.
I do love hugs and kisses, though. That's excellent.
Yeah, for meth and MDMA, that's hilarious. So there you go. But there are other things. I talked about the uplifting euphemism, and I'm not talking about saying a combination of stationary vehicles for parking place, right? I'm really let's see, where are some of the ones that they had? That came from one of the state governments. It was yes, chicken ham a la princesse, of a recipe involving canned cream of chicken soup with cubed spam and evaporated milk, which is also known as, anybody?
Yuck.
Shit on a
Shit on a
shingle.
shingle.
Yep.
Clearly, with
close.
euphemisms
SOS.
of the uplifting kind, you collide necessarily with jargon. Okay, like the language peculiar to a trade, for example, or a profession. You kind of develop this anti-language, this jargon, and
Lingo.
yeah, what was the one that
Really
they
good example of that from my life was when I was working corrections. Everyone here knows what handcuffs are, right?
yes,
Yes.
Yeah. We were
bracelets,
forbidden from using the phrase handcuffs or
personal
handcuffs.
restraint device.
It was mechanical wrist restraints.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's government
Because-
for you.
If you handcuff someone, it sounds too harsh, and if you cuff someone, it sounds like you're hitting them. If you're using handcuffs on someone, does that mean that you're using them as a pain compliance device? Does that mean that you're
Yes,
applying
exactly.
them? So we had to always phrase it as we applied mechanical wrist restraints.
Okay, on the same level of ridiculousness is that. This is the one I was looking for Prospero, because she is interested in things of the law. The law gets written with indecent exposure of the person, but person equals penis. Period. Dot. But they don't. And that's a classic jargon-based euphemism. That the law we shan't say penis.
Yes.
In our regulations, we shall say
Naughty bits.
the person. Yes, the no square.
Yes.
And there you go. So
Oh God, yeah, because I will never forget how caught off guard most of the American press and public were by the exploits of William Jefferson Clinton.
yeah,
Only because the attempts, it's very difficult when something is hilarious on its face, which the entire Monica Lewinsky is a human humidor event
Yes.
was.
yes.
I immediately went for human humidor because I was
But
asking.
that's humor.
I was
Which is
asking
important.
a male colleague if I had heard correctly, because I was placing a fast food order listening to Rush Limbaugh when he was saying, and apparently the president diddled her with a cigar. And I'm thinking, all right, my blood sugar must be really low. I couldn't have heard this correctly. I mean, because there was this kind of, what did I just hear? So I went back to the office to speak to somebody that I knew who listened to Rush on his lunch break. And I knocked on his door. And this was a kind of very buttoned down Catholic boy. So I said, will you please tell me that I didn't just hear that Monica Lewinsky was used as a human humidor? And he said, I hate to tell you, but that's exactly what you heard. And I was just like, okay, I've lived too long. But the struggles to try to explain the peccadillos between those two in the White House, in the press, was fucking glorious to watch. Because people, number one, the FCC would have lost their shit if the news agencies had described exactly what was happening.
Yeah, if they had just come out and said, so the president was fucking her. You can't say that.
Except what they wanted to say was, instead of finger fucking her, he cigar fucked her.
Yep.
But they can't
But
say
they have
that.
to fight. Those guys were amateurs compared to a guy named Grit Laskin, who was an old friend of Pete Seeger, who was a folk singer and communist.
Yes.
Anyway, but they had all the good songs. Quote from Folk Song Army, everybody drink. Anyway, Photographer's Ballad by Grit Laskin. I'm just going to read a few, like 2 or 3 stanzas, short stand, couple lines to you. And it goes like this. Well, early Saturday morning, I was strolling in the wood. I came upon a lady who by the wayside stood. And what, pray tell, would such a lass as you be doing here? I've come to take some photographs, said she as I drew near. Said I to her, I do declare this is a fateful day, for I have come to photograph the same as you did say. Then I took out my Nikon F and placed it in her hand. She said, that's quite a camera, sir. You have at your command. My camera so delighted her, she could no more delay. She let me see her camera case wherein her accessories lay. I'm sure, she said, you have the most everything that can be bought. Just let me stretch my tripod out before you take some shots. We photographed from haylofts and up against the wall. And if you've not shot on Saturday night, you've not photographed at all. She had her shutter open wide, for daylight was all gone. Likewise, my naked camera lens, it had its filter on. This lady had experience with cameras, yes, indeed, and I thought her exposures the best I'd ever seen. Although she seemed to tire not as on and on we went, I said, I'll have to stop now, my film supply is spent. She said, I've had Mirandas, Yashicas, and Rollies, Hasselblad and Pentax, and likewise a Polaroid, Fujica, Canon, Nikkormat, and Kodak and the rest, but now I've seen your Nikon F. It's the very fucking best.
Nice. Very nice.
That's the way Grit used to sing it in concert. Surely it's the best, but he used to say it's always the fucking best.
I am making Creed get rid of his Nikon F.
It's time, Prospero. It's time.
Oh no,
I got rid of my Konica. He can get rid of his Nikon.
I actually got him an upgraded Nikon F as a wedding present, which really does not, in light of what you've just read, sound right at all. Hi, honey, I bought you a new dick. It's
called the Photographer's Ballad, and it's by Grit Laskin, Laskin. If anybody's interested in looking it up, he wrote a number of witty songs.
We haven't yet reached the point where you can just go out and buy designer genitals for anyone playing at home. Drink.
Yes.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sanguine brought up designer genitals.
There we go.
And somewhere in California, Harry just went, "Oh, ow!"
I remember when the Lewinsky scandal was going on, and my dad and I were just sitting there. It was a Sunday afternoon, or morning rather, because he was reading the paper and I was waiting for whatever work I was gonna help him with at the time. and he had the paper up, and we're listening to the news. He's reading the sports section, and I'm just kind of watching the news as it's going. And he brought up the line that depends on what the definition of is.
Yep.
And my dad, like, just to see, and my dad's not really like super political. He's got he has an opinion, and then he just voices it, and then just walks away. Like, he won't debate anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he just sets down the paper, and he's like, "If I ever hear that stupid shit out of you," like. And I looked at him, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm not one for words, but I'm not that fucking smooth."
See, I was really hoping that you're about to say, well, it depends on what your definition of out of me is.
I just love that, though. If I ever hear that stupid shit out of you. Yeah, that was what a great period in history to live through. Just kind of watching the media try to report it and not be lurid, because
Well, you know, the guy who published Screw magazine, his last name was Epstein. I can't remember his first name. He famously said, and probably it's the most noticeable thing about this maggot, he said the best pornographer is the mind of a reader.
yeah.
And you're not wrong. You know, that's why that's what's so great about the photographer song is the doublespeak text has tabooed denotations in it. If you wanted to think of it that way, it denotes tabooed concepts, particularly back when that was written. He probably wrote that in the early 60s.
Yes.
Maybe whenever he probably wrote it about the time the Nikon F came out.
Oh, and it classifies the phrase that one of the doctors I used to work for used when he'd tell an off-color joke is, ain't a dirty word in it.
Yep.
He would tell a very off-color joke, but it was all double entendre.
Yep.
And I mean, there's a fine art to getting past the censors.
The best pornographer is the mind of the information consumer.
Yeah.
The information consumer.
He said euphemistically.
One of the quickest, light or fairly dirty jokes that I know is, of course, the classic, how do you tell when a woman has a blonde boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Her belly button's bruised.
Ha ha! Ha ha! That's dumb as hell. I don't like it.
Yep.
It's like the dad jokes of
Terrible.
clean
Jesus Christ.
dirty jokes.
That's almost too stupid to be funny.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it amazing.
It just barely isn't.
Yeah. It's just,
You laugh weakly and just hope for new thoughts.
oh, I don't know, having heard my share of blonde jokes directed at women.
Yeah. It says concentrate.
It's hello OnStar. I'm locked in my car and I can't get out. Jesus Christ.
I can't find the
I'm sorry,
11.
did you say I'm locked in my car?
Yeah, there was a whole bit that some wag did on. It was called Blonde Star instead of OnStar, and it was this idiot woman who was trapped in her car and she couldn't get out. It was locked and she couldn't get out.
Well, FYI, if you're ever in a car accident or anything and you can't open the doors, you can pull the headrest out and it's made to break through the window so you can climb out.
Cool, thank you.
Now I have helped.
Pity they didn't have those in Volkswagen. Pity they didn't have those in Oldsmobiles in 1960. Never mind. I was going to make a Chappaquiddick joke in poor taste.
Yeah, let's not.
And then I almost mixed it up with the if only Mary Jo Kopechne had been driving a Volkswagen Beetle, she'd be alive today. They float. The
Yeah,
The more you know.
there's just an insane amount of the use of euphemisms, especially in politics, and most of the ones that are used in politics tend to be of the wrong sort.
they're yeah, you're prettying up shit and calling it Shinola.
Yep, because there's a whole lot of well, this is, of course, the Patriot Act. And everyone likes being a patriot, right? It's a euphemism that is then used to
Coercively.
twist arms.
Yeah,
Because are you really going to vote down the Patriot Act? Are you really going to vote down an act that's for the safety of women?
The Violence Against Women Act, yeah, that was another one that had a lot of poison pills in it, and yeah, it's coercive euphemisms.
Yep. As an externality, it certainly is. You're absolutely right. Think of it though as an internalized phenomenon of like in-group signaling or in-group trademarks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, depending on the context, many examples of what I think of as euphemistic name nomenclatures, I guess, is something that naturally develops among people who have a common work-related interest or recreational interest. It can be vocation or avocation, and they perform the additional functioning of it reinforces the group identity, and it displays the group identity to signal to out-group members. Okay, especially when directed against potentially threatening outsiders. And so like shared experiences that are taboo, like in the case of hospital staff, they have to manage disease, dying, death, and all that stuff. Euphemisms make their job easier. It disguises these unpleasant realities that they have to deal with constantly. And so they're constantly using these euphemisms over and over, but it's also in-group signaling, saying we are in this group. This is the way we talk. These are the things that we do. This is, and it begins to build an identity, a group identity in that, where the activities are marginal or unofficial or illegal. There's the added motivation of secrecy. We used to talk. We used to have. How Eskimos have like 109 words for snow. We had about that. We had about twice that many words for pot when I was in college. And other drugs. Oh my God! We even had slang for batches of LSD that were in process, where they were. Is the bread done? We used to talk about the bread being done because there's one part that has a heat-based fractionalization you got to do, and we called it baking the bread, because it's a very gentle heating and a very sharp eye on the the instant it gets to a certain temperature, it gets plunged in an ice bath, and or in a super cooled alcohol reagent wash. Anyway,
I'm blanching the bread, honey.
Pretty much. But anyway, this is the preferred language of people in the group, and it reinforces that sense of group identity and reinforces the ways that members of the group essentially show attention to both the process, their specialized group of things that they do, illicit or licit, and also to the to anybody watching from the outside. It acts as a way of stating, this is the group we're a part of, this is how we think, this is what we do, these are the things that make us special. And that's a very powerful hold. And that's all done with euphemisms.
Well, it's like specialized lingo or jargon.
I know I'm really pushing euphemisms pretty hard there.
But in the military,
my God.
Particularly because it's not only unit cohesiveness and in-group signaling. It's making people feel that they're becoming part of something, extant and ongoing. You know, that
Situation normal.
well, yeah, and but it also is concealment of actual meaning for secrecy purposes. So if you're overheard on a channel,
Yeah.
nobody knows why are you talking about raspberries and who's making the eaten mess this week.
Yes.
You know, where you could absolutely be talking about where the boomer is and who's next in the blow 'em up game. It's, you work out your codes in common speak, in common euphemism. It makes it easier for people to remember it too.
Yep.
Like you guys did with the baking the bread.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly. Everybody knew exactly what
step you were on.
Yeah, knew what step you're on and what to have ready for the next step, because it gets real quick when. But anyway, I wanted to call to your attention the best euphemism that I've come across so far. It's from the 18th century, and you're going to love this.
Okay.
The miraculous pitcher that holds water against the gravity. What is that a euphemism for? The miraculous pitcher, as in pitcher of water, that holds water with the mouth downwards, or holds water against gravity. You know what that was synonymous?
You know vagina?
Yeah, vagina, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, indeed. That was what they said when they wanted to say vagina in the 1700s, in the early 1700s.
I'm slightly concerned that I got that quickly, and
yes,
you're not as concerned as I am.
We're all concerned. Don't worry.
But anyway, language is creativity in language is ubiquitous. Euphemisms, as Sanguine said at the beginning of the stream, are ubiquitous. They are everywhere, and English is chock full of them. The language probably with the most euphemisms by far, there's nothing in its class, is what language? Prospero, you don't get to guess because you'll get it right. Come on, make me proud.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
What language has the most euphemisms in it? And there's one that is just all by itself.
French?
No. Nope. They have a lot of idioms. They have a ton of idioms, but that's a different thing.
I'll go with Italian.
Nope.
It's not going to be English, though I really wanted to say English.
You don't get two guesses.
Yeah.
Either guess English or don't.
Yeah.
Guess something else if you want to.
What I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to go for.
It might be English. It could be English.
Really?
I'll go for the bait. It's going to be wrong, but I'll say English.
Nope. Prospero, I bet you can reason this out if you think carefully about it. Oh, think about what languages are made up of.
Latin.
Yeah, I was thinking that it's Latin or Greek.
Nope.
Hebrew?
Interesting. You're interesting. You would go to the Romance. No, it's Chinese by far. Mandarin Chinese. It's a language of euphemisms. It's a fucking language of euphemisms.
Yeah, character-driven language. I am such a Westerner.
Yeah. Greek or Latin?
Yeah, that it's absolutely.
Did you go to Cambridge?
Yeah, no, I'm just an evil white woman.
Yeah, no.
Just.
You have a classical education. That's why you.
Actually, I don't. But I play one on YouTube.
Right. Exactly.
Well, the rude president might not take the language too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, of course it does. Anything that's pictographic is.
Oh yeah, like a person with hard to meet needs. That was used in a newspaper article for serial killers.
Can,
A person with hard to meet needs.
Nice.
Jesus.
So
well,
Also, differently
Yeah.
pleasured for sadomasochists.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. Now that's atrocious, actually. That's utter obfuscation.
Yeah, it is. And in fairness, euphemisms can be used to obfuscate. Absolutely to obfuscate. And
Many times they are.
Yeah, and that's when I tend to find them
Maladaptive.
yes.
Shakespeare in As You Like It was that play, I will say, above everything except Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
that.
I would say those two plays have tremendous euphemisms, and one of the best. And let me. I'm just going to read a little bit of Shakespeare. It's your yearly verse of Shakespeare, and this is from As You Like It. This old Billy, who was right, kill all warriors, kill them tonight. He said, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts begin 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, and then the lover sighing like a furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow, then a soldier full of strange oaths, then the justice in fair round belly of the good capon lined, with eyes severe the 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on the nose and pouch on the side, and last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history in second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. If you like that, you will love that play. I love As You Like It. It's one of I know it's lame to say this, but it's one of my favorite Shakespeare plays.
Do you know I've never read it?
You're kidding.
Mm-mm.
You would enjoy that. I'm surprised. That surprises me.
Yeah, it's the thing is it's what gets chosen for you, and because I didn't take anything above Survey of English Literature, and for some reason we had to read one of the histories. Oh, kill me now. One of the Henrys, and not the good one.
Oh, like Henry V or something?
Yeah. It was, oh God, it was Henry V, because I wanted to die. I just wanted to die. Hal Henry, hello.
It's
Hal
always
Henry.
yeah.
And I was like, why can't we be doing the one where there's a war? I mean, like a really good war. Yeah. With a guy with a fiery speech and something entertaining. Yeah, or at least I'll do the Dane again. It's okay. I don't mind him that much. Melancholy pain in my ass, but it's okay. Or we can do the Scottish play again. Or just okay. If you offered me the opportunity to read Romeo and Juliet again or Henry V, I think I'd elect to start the shotgun but I'd read Romeo and Juliet because at least it has passages in it that are poetic. There is nothing poetic.
Plus it's a great yarn.
It is a great yarn. It's just, the problem is fucking West Side Story, okay?
Yeah,
I hate that so much.
Oh, God, well, I hate it because it's just so nakedly Romeo and Juliet, except for watching the music.
Being honest about it?
Yeah. Watching the musical, at least,
songs are overrated. Sorry, that's the truth.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Except for the Jet song. Jet song is cool.
That one and Officer Krupke.
We're really upset. We never got the kind of love a kid ought to get. Gee, Officer Krupke, we're no good.
Yeah, but that
deep down inside, we're just no good. That's what it is.
Officer Krupke, we're down on our knees because no one likes a
fellow with the social disease.
One of my favorite lines out of any musical. In the movie, the dancing's pretty amazing because.
Well, in the plays, it's even better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
because because it's Broadway. But in point of fact,
I'd really rather read Hamlet again, and Hamlet is once read, does not need to be read again. Macbeth is an interesting read.
I
reread
Macbeth. I reread Macbeth about every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I like Macbeth, but the histories, Henry IV is fine. Don't read Henry V. It's just awful.
Yeah,
awful.
I love Shakespeare, and that was a tough sled for me.
And
I was going to say, I got the theater team, pretty much all the actors. If you've ever seen anyone riled up, because they don't like to use the word Macbeth.
The Scottish play.
Yeah, and they use Scottish play, and I'm like, what the hell is Scottish play? And they're like, it's Macbeth, and I'm like, okay. And so I walk away, and I just yell to my friend at the theater stuff, have fun reenacting Macbeth. And everyone just turned and looked, and I'm like, peace.
Well,
That's a sin.
It's a silly superstition. It is a totally silly superstition.
Nobody does the funny ones though better.
The
than
taming of this.
The Australians.
Mm-hmm.
Australian hospitals. Listen to this. You find reference to something called crumbles. Does anyone know what Aussie doctors mean when they talk about crumbles? Those
Sounds
are
like an
frail and elderly people who are about to die.
Oh, that's so cute.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, or
to crumble into dust.
Right. Grots, those are derelicts and alcoholics. Vegetables, unresponsive or comatose patients. And they have diagnoses that they actually write in the charts. And I have seen this.
Mad fucks.
FLK for funny looking kid.
Nice.
GOK when they can't figure something out, they say God only knows. And someone who has passed through the valley of tears is simply dead, or as they say, cactus.
My favorite hospital euphemism is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Mm-hmm.
Written out, not abbreviated in the first letter.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
That encircling the drain.
Yeah.
The patient is CTD.
The problem is we're all circling the drain. But anyway, some circles are bigger than the others. What I wanted to get to though was that the words that I just used, some of them are euphemisms. Some are something that linguistic anthropologists called dysphemistic utterances or dysphemisms. Okay, and that would be like funny looking kid or grots or crumbles. That would be dysphemistic. Or if they are simply descriptive, linguistic anthropologists call that orthophemistic, where it's just a straight description, but it uses other words to do it. Like a straight analogy, for example, that is a very apt analogy would be orthophemistic.
Like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, actually.
Yeah, actually, that would be orthophemistic. That's a great example, actually. That's a perfect example.
When you have a patient that is absolutely off their nut.
Yep.
It's it's like they got bed bugs where brain should be.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
Would somebody please call the 6th floor? Or because there's always a 6th floor.
Well, the interesting thing about euphemisms and dysphemisms and orthophemisms is that there are different linguistic devices that are used to form them. If you think about it, they're basically 3. At least that's what we were taught. Analogy, which is kind of a generalization of forms to new situations. So you have
X's.
Right, exactly. You have distortion, which is a modification of forms, if you think about it in terms of that. And then you have borrowing, which is incorporation of forms from elsewhere. And the function of a euphemism will have a bearing on which of those strategies is used to mold or form the euphemism. Okay, so like bold imagery, irony, rhyme, sound association, there's all kinds of, exactly. All the stuff that goes, all the linguistic shit that goes into creating something of real lexical novelty is essentially shakes out in one of those three ways.
I have a question for Sora. Of course, you were a child, so the hurdle of learning English was not the same as it is for an adult. Because children acquire language like little sponges. Watch TV, and all of a sudden they're teaching their parents the language because it's pairing of images and words. And because children are acquiring language constantly, how difficult do you think it is for the adult with euphemisms and metaphor and orthoisms and all those other things, not to mention idiom?
I think it depends on how good their English teacher is, honestly. Because and what you're exposed to. So if you're exposed to enough British programming, which my parents were at one point, just because that's what came through, and you had good teachers, and then you do stuff like prepare for TOEFL and all that sort of stuff, you have a better grasp, I think. And then when you come over, you use it. Think, and this is going to be controversial, but I think intelligence also has a lot to do with it, because context clues are a thing.
Yes.
Are a lot. So you can,
there goes the
even if
monetization.
Sorry.
Bye-bye.
No, I think it does, because I mean, I've listened to a fair bit of V. Monroe, and I have been amazed, at his proficiency in idiom, both American and English. He's a bit more British,
yes,
than English than American, but and that makes perfect sense because he's European. And
he calls the trunk a boot.
Yeah, and so the language instruction is British. But the his proficiency in the profanity of the Anglosphere is remarkable. Which is
I quite agree. That guy is probably, no kidding, he's probably borderline genius. And I don't use the G word or the B word, brilliant.
Well, for his age,
a lot.
Well, yeah, and for his age and what he has studied and mastered.
That's the mark of a good mind. That's a guy you don't have to tell stuff to twice. He's sharp as a tack.
Well, to flip from the law to medicine,
I know.
is a peripatetic mind.
Now you have to remember that over there, a law degree is an undergraduate degree.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Okay, so he went through college and he majored in law.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't mean he's a lawyer. It doesn't mean he's practicing law or anything like that. He majored in law. What he did is like taking half of law school and half of political science. That's what it means. And yeah, you can study and take the licensing exams and work as a barrister or whatever. But it's different than the United States, where or really the West, this part of the West anyway, where people go through 4 years of college before they start law school, and then they have 3 years of law school, and then if they also want to be a doctor, it's 4 years of medical school and 4 to 5
I
years
actually
of
know
residency.
somebody who,
Residency, yeah.
after they got their law degree, decided they didn't want to practice law and enrolled in Eastern Virginia Medical College.
A lot of DOs, a lot of doctors of osteopathy with law degrees, because osteopathic colleges like to take people who have had a career.
Yeah, in Eastern Virginia is a straight up medical school, and I thought it was very interesting because I was like, there are some people who are professional students. They're very, very bright, and they want to master multiple subjects, and that's how they rock and roll.
I wanted to ask you a question. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is it called when you use a single characteristic to name an object?
Oh, the sync.
Is that called metonymy? I think that's metonymy, use of a single characteristic or to name an object or to identify an entire object.
Yeah, and then what is that other one? It's sync.
Hyponymy is the relationship between the two words that form a metonymy.
Yeah, but there's also.
But if you think about it, metonymy is a tool to create euphemisms.
It is.
Like saying the White House released its official report today, when what you really want to say is President Biden released his official report today. The White House is the metonymy.
Well, I thought that was a synecdoche, a placeholder.
Oh, you mean like a synecdoche? That's the way I say that word. And
but it's
that's a hyponym. That's a hyponym.
Cutthroat for assassin, White House for the president.
Right.
A placeholder. It's a placeholder word that.
But that's one of the building blocks of euphemisms, I think.
Yeah.
Who's painting their car?
It's saying.
Who's painting their car?
Sanguine.
Are you talking about the sizzling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's chicken in a pan.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious, because Sora, you had the first-hand experience of having parents who are not non-native English speakers, and you, of course, you were a small child.
But they came into the country with English.
Yeah.
Enough, anyway.
But you didn't hear it spoken at home until you were...
No.
Until you were immersed in it. I wonder, though, because romance-based language, there's so many cognates that at least for beginning language acquisition, some stuff might have made more sense. Of course, the irregularities of English speech is just obnoxious.
I've never been great at spelling. That's my biggest thing with.
Nor have I.
For a very long time, I did this thing where I kept doubling consonants for no reason, because I would spell out using syllables that I would stick it in. Like, I knew there wasn't an extra L or T or something in there, and I'd just stick it in there for the symmetry. I don't know.
Had you begun to read Romanian? When you moved?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay, I didn't.
But my grandma did come over for 6 months. I think I was 5, and we started doing handwriting at that point.
Okay.
You know, I have looked at Romanian, and you can kind of figure out pieces of it. It's a little. It has some borrowed words from. Wait for it. French.
Oh yeah, but it's a romance-based language.
I did not know that. I didn't know that.
Romanian.
When I got to know Sora, when I got to know Sora, I decided I'm going to find out something about my new friend's language, and so I started looking at Romanian. I went.
I did.
This is reminiscent of French.
A friend of mine did one of those "Where are you in the world?" things that the Google Maps does, the Google Earth game.
Yeah.
Yes.
they just plunk you down and you can move around. Well, he was narrowing in, and I came in and I was looking over his shoulder, and he was like, I know I'm in Eastern Europe, but I'm not entirely sure. And I was like, can you zoom in just a little, make that picture bigger, please? Because he was looking at a storefront in some town.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, zoom in on it a little bit. And there was a sandwich board sign outside. And I began looking at it. And I was like, this isn't a Slavic language. It's a Romance-based. I said, you're in Romania.
Because you knew that
I said,
Romanian was.
I said, look at that sign. Look at that sign and tell me if that is not a Romance-based language.
Well, look at Romania's borders. It's mostly bordered. Well, it's got a big border with Bulgaria, but you know that a lot of the cultural exchange came in from the Hungarian border, which is almost as big as the Bulgarian border.
Yeah, and entertainingly, Hungarian and Finnish are two related languages.
I know, I knew that. Yeah,
that's one of those peculiarities that I actually saw a Finn and a Hungarian
walk into a bar.
Actually communicate based on words that have remained similar enough in the languages as they diverged from one another. That there were a lot of overlap. There's some peculiar overlap around the Mediterranean anyway, particularly in food culture. You know, like Turkish names for certain Greek dishes are so very similar that you know that they just lifted the Greek name and turked it up a little bit. But the funny thing is, Sora, that it was a beach town. He was like, well, we're on the water. And I was like, yeah, it's Romania.
It was in Constanza or Mamaia.
I think so. I think it was in Constanza. But it was so funny. It was the sandwich board sign.
Beach resort.
that gave it away, because he said, I know I'm in a coastal place, but I know I'm in Eastern Europe. And I was like, well, you've only got a couple choices.
Of course, you're on the coast of the Black Sea, right? That's their seashore, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And according to my mom, it's one of the best places in the world. I've never seen it.
The photographs were beautiful, absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. It was a pretty place, because he started wandering around, because I was like, show me more. Show me more of this game that will show you trees, and then you have to fix, because several times he's gotten dumped in some shit stained place in Siberia when he's playing the game, and he's like, I know I am in fucking Eastern Russia because of the goddamn trees.
You know, it's interesting, because Bucharest is like the same distance from Istanbul that Dallas is from Houston.
Yeah. It's pretty stunning how...
Istanbul, by the way, is full of Romanians. They love going there. Istanbul, Anatolia. Where else is holiday? Jerusalem, funny enough, is full of Romanians going on holiday.
I think it's great, since Spain and Portugal are swallowed up by Brits every year.
Because they're cheap places, and back in the day, easy to get, well, not necessarily in Israel, but to like Turkey, easier to get visas out of the country. Yeah.
Yeah, you develop habits. You develop habits during the bad times, too. Countries that you're allowed to go into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that carries down through families. A lot of people go to the same beaches or resort areas that their grandparents started taking their parents to.
Turkey is really where the third world starts, isn't it? Because on one side you have...
Gateway to Shitstania?
It basically borders on Greece on the left side and Syria on the right.
Yeah, and is the guardian of the Black Sea, which has it in Russia's sights.
You know, I actually helped train and worked with Turkish naval officers. Turkey has a pretty good navy. It's mostly a coastal navy, as you would expect.
Uh,
But those guys are good ship handlers, and they
need to be.
They
There's
know-
some scary waters around there.
yeah, they're good ship pilots. Although actually, when I got to know them, I said that's some pretty nasty sailing, around the Greek islands and the Dardanelles and all that crap. And they said, "Oh, we don't sail that." And I said, "You don't?" And I said, "We have pilots. We'll bring a pilot on board." and I said, "Let me guess, it's because insurance." Absolutely right.
Oh yeah, I was going to
That's
say
what it
they're expensive toy. You don't want to broke.
You have to have the right guy giving helm commands when you bruise your ship on the side of the land.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dardanelles, for example, is just absolutely asking for a ship clogging event. Ship ran aground on one side, had a power failure, and is now blocking the entire channel.
Yeah, like the Suez. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That would shut down. That would shut down the Black Sea.
Yeah.
It absolutely would.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Fought a whole war in that area once. Well, twice over control of the area. The Crimean War, plus
Crimean.
World War One.
And World War One, yeah.
But
We got off topic.
yeah. So
Sorry, euphemisms.
pull back onto euphemisms.
Yes, we strayed away from the preferred region
And I do
of
have
contemplation.
to ask after saying to pull back on euphemisms. Sora, which number is that?
746.
Okay. It seemed like it would have to be one of the titles.
It has to be, yes, I agree.
But yeah,
But
there's... Okay.
I want to share this. This is I find this quite funny. So because of the topic, I did do a little searching to see if there's anything fun. Now this isn't hiding something dirty euphemism. I just like how wordy it is for what it's trying to not say. It's commit a terminological inexactitude.
Oh, yeah, Churchill's way of saying that someone was lying in the House of Parliament.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
I just love it. It just sounds like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I think
because
that's my favorite one I've found so far.
It was considered uncouth to just say, "You're talking shit, mate." So, okay.
Well, no, go ahead and finish because I want to pull the discussion over to something else.
Oh, okay.
It's on euphemisms, but it a different slant.
Yep. So he had to come up with the cleanest way to parse his words while still saying, "You're fucking lying."
Mm-hmm.
And he came up with terminological inexactitude.
Hey, I have to go. Night, guys.
Night,
you have a good
Jenna.
one.
Good night,
Jenna.
Jenna.
Get some rest,
Sorry,
sweetie.
Sang.
Not a
Good night.
problem at all.
Talk to you later, sweetie. So, I looked up a list of English euphemisms, and some of these are hilarious enough. I thought I'd share just a few of them with you. Yeah, it has some of the normal stuff, a bit worse for wear. Do you know what that actually refers to? That means drunk.
Yeah.
To be drunk, and being a little thin on top is bald.
Mm-hmm.
Adult beverages, those are, drinks with alcoholism. So far, so good, right?
Drinks with alcoholism. I love
With
it.
alcohol in them. Alcoholism. God, I had a long conversation with someone I'm helping sponsor today, and we talked about alcoholism a lot. I'm so sorry.
Not a
Anyway.
problem, though. I do have to ask, Johnny, drinks with alcoholism, is that part of one of the tribes that you're familiar with, or is that is he from a different tribe?
No, he's down towards Camel's area. He's
Okay.
goes along with premise running thin.
Nice.
I
Just wanted to double check.
haven't gotten to the good part yet, though. So I was just saying that some of these are mundane, like the ones I talked about a moment ago. Then some of them are just fucking hilarious. So what is an arm knee?
What is a what?
What is an arm knee?
An arm knee?
An arm
Your
knee.
elbow. Your elbow.
An elbow,
Elbow.
exactly. What is an American murder log?
A gun?
A bat?
Nope.
American murder log?
Yep. I can't
Cigar?
believe you. I even had heard this. Of course, it helps me from the south and way south. Not,
Oh,
not Virginia.
alligator?
Alligators.
Oh, yep.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yep. Let's see. Being economical with the truth, telling a bald-faced lie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Be made redundant. That's to be fired.
Mhm.
If you are on a gardening leave, what does that mean? If you have gone on a gardening leave, what does that mean?
Are you pregnant?
Nope.
You've disposed of the body.
Nope. You are unemployed.
Psych leave? Oh, okay.
You're unemployed.
I was
Um,
going to say psych leave.
Let's see.
Okay.
Are you wearing your apron high? What does that mean?
That's
Are you wearing your apron high?
Are you pregnant?
Are you
Yeah.
pregnant? Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that one goes with up the duff.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Okay. Body flower. What is a body flower?
Being healthy at any size.
Nice try, but no. It's a cemetery.
Ah, okay.
Let's see. I'm not going to go through too many of these.
Well, that's,
but,
that's close. That's close enough.
to change into your brown trousers.
Shit yourself?
To shit yourself, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see. Comfort woman is a prostitute. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's easy.
To commit a terminological inexactitude is to tell a lie.
Yep.
A compressed horse is a pony. Correctional facility is a prison. Cross over to the other side is to die. Dinner spades. What are dinner spades?
Spoon.
Nope.
Dinner.
Fork.
Nope.
No, those are dinner spades. Knife?
Nope. You're all partly right. It's any dinner
Cutlery.
utensil.
Oh, any utensil.
cutlery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, boo.
There you
That's
go.
cheating.
All right. Let's see. Early retirement used to describe getting fired, especially for older people.
Mhm.
That's right before earth sauce, lava. Okay. Embarking on a journey of self-discovery.
Oh, and unemployed.
Yes,
unemployed.
jobless, exactly. Let's see.
20-something-year-old art student.
I'm going to go engage in safe sex. What does that mean? What does that refer to? And it's something very specific.
I'm going to go masturbate.
Female masturbation. Well, I'll give it to you.
Oh, okay.
Enhanced interrogations methods.
Why just female?
Torture.
Torture, exactly. Yeah. Financially challenged. Finger pants or gloves. Food rakes or forks. Friendly fire when you know what that is. It's not especially friendly when it's killing your guys. What are good bad words? What are good bad words?
Euphemisms.
Euphemisms. I knew somebody would get them. How about a hairy nope nope? What's a hairy nope nope?
There are children present, sir.
Bear?
Spider. Very.
Oh my God, that's
A hairy nope.
A hairy nope nope.
Harry, nope. It's like Danger Noodle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Danger noodles and hairy nope nopes haunting your dreams. Let's see.
Danger noodle is so ridiculous. I love it.
Human raccoons.
Bums?
Freegans?
Nope. Younger brothers.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
Tomato.
In the club. What does in the club mean?
In the club.
God, I am so old. I know what all these mean.
I've heard it.
Is
I
that
just can't
something
remember what the
political?
fuck it is.
No, this is something very British and very old. To be in the club is to be pregnant.
Okay.
What
Okay.
club?
Yeah, the pregnancy club, evidently.
It's
I-
just
I-
the
Card
barefoot
carrying
club.
member of the pregnancy club.
Let's see. How about a knocking shop? Do you know what a knocking shop is?
It's the old
Knocking.
barefoots.
Knocking shop. What do you buy from a knocking shop? What do you buy in a knocking shop, actually?
Knocking shop.
What do you take home from a knocking shop?
A clock.
No, you buy sex and you take home an STD.
Ah.
No, goodness sake. Okay.
Once I was about to say that, and then once you said, "What do you buy?" and I'm going, "Shit, okay, that doesn't work. It's a service. It's not a good."
Okay, how about making the bald man cry?
Oh, that's dirty.
That's exactly what
Beating
you
your
think.
meat.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Meet your maker is to die. Negative patient outcome is death. Neutralized. Knows flavors or smells. Not the sharpest pencil in the box, which you've heard me use many times.
Oh, yeah.
It's somewhat stupid. And let's see. One-eyed puff adder. The male genitalia.
Yeah. Puff, that's a great one.
Over the hill and picking up speed.
Getting old?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Partially proficient is someone who's an incompetent. Let's see.
Oh my, partially proficient. Oh my god, that is the best thing ever.
Florida girl.
Yeah, I was about to say, is that going to become your new term for Florida girl?
No, see, she's leaving us, so I feel bad making fun.
Aww. Well, but partially proficient Felicia.
And the rest of these are stuff like, turn to dust, which means die, turn a trick, practice prostitution, underperforming assets, bad debt, vertically challenged means short, well-fed means fat, workforce imbalance correction is reorganization. So anyway, I just thought you would appreciate somebody's idea of what funny euphemisms were.
Oh,
No,
this just reminded.
I'm sorry. No, one quick thing. I missed what Johnny said.
Spend the penny, squeeze the lemon.
I know what spend a penny is.
Is it to pee?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Squeeze the lemon would be the same, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, this is just making me think of all the euphemistic terms from both corrections and EMS. Because has anyone ever heard of Code Squirrel?
Code Squirrel?
Code Squirrel.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's something that was used, at least in the ambulance company that I was a part of, which was if a patient is getting belligerent and is trying to escape the confines of the stretcher, the person in back will yell squirrel. The person up front will slam on the brakes, forcing the person back down into the stretcher, buckle them back in, good to go. There's a difference between administering O2 and O2 therapy as well. O2 therapy was again for a belligerent patient, and it involves a O2 canister rather than the gas inside.
Yeah. Dong.
Yep. Then, of course, there was the mechanical wrist restraints, which I said earlier. Then using chemical.
Drugging them?
If I was talking EMS, yes, that probably would have been drugging them.
Tear gas?
Yes, it is using OCCS spray. But we weren't allowed to call it pepper spray. We weren't allowed to call it mace. We weren't allowed to call it tear gas or anything of the sort. We had to refer to it as chemical. Which, given most of the other things were meant to make it sound less worrisome, the fact that we were just constantly saying, yes, I administered chemical to the offender. That seems to be counterproductive.
Yeah.
Then there's also, you weren't allowed to say that someone punched someone or slapped someone It was always that a closed hand strike was administered or an open hand strike was administered.
For heaven's sake.
Because punch and slap, no, doesn't matter that you're talking about someone responding to another person trying to poke a few holes in them, but you couldn't phrase it that way. So they administered a closed hand strike to the offender that was trying to stab them.
Punch the shit out of him. Yeah.
Yep. And there were just a whole bunch of these things which were just, you had to phrase them in the weirdest fucking manner in order to get them to be properly worded and accepted. But perhaps one of my favorite ones is, everyone's familiar with hospital code systems, right?
Yes.
So if I say code blue, everyone immediately knows code blue.
Mm-hmm.
That one's the one that most people know. It means the person stopped breathing, hence blue.
Carding you.
Anyone know code silver?
Old person.
That's not right. Anyone else have a guess for code silver?
I would have guessed riding the Centrum pony.
Nope. It is someone who has a handgun or another firearm of some sort.
Oh, okay.
We've had
Also, okay.
I was going to say, we've had code oranges multiple times. I work near a hospital. That's always fun.
Yep. And then perhaps my favorite code of them all, and I think this is consistent at other hospitals. I know it was for every hospital in the areas that I ran. Anyone familiar with code strong?
No.
It is the least cloaked code imaginable.
Is that the call for
Codes-
security?
Code strong is the call for the biggest motherfuckers in the hospital to show up at a specific location. And the funniest version that I ever saw of this was, I was present for Code Strong being called because a patient was trying to fight the nurses. Code Strong was called, and originally I see a couple of the hospital orderlies show up, and I went, oh, okay, so it's hospital orderlies. That makes sense. Then I see the elevator technician. Why the fuck is the elevator technician here? There's no elevator in this section of the hospital. The plumber, the maintenance guy, the just every guy.
All the big dudes.
Yeah, every guy. The shortest guy there was 6 foot. And the lightest guy there was maybe 195. Everyone else, big fucking dudes.
I just need you to sit on this.
Yeah, it was effectively just a show of force is what Code Strong is. You get all the big guys to show up so that the belligerent patient will go, okay, yeah, I was willing to fight the nurse. There's 30 guys who are like 300. No, I'll just go back in bed. That's advisable. But yeah, there's all kinds of euphemisms just used every goddamn day. Like I said, from the very benign powder your nose, which, just to string a number of them together, is really just said so that no one gets the mental image of someone's chocolate starfish opening up.
That's not... Powder your nose is generally used as a euphemism for going to the restroom, not just to take a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But it gets the point across.
You are the one who are obsessed with the shit taking.
No, it was just so I could work in chocolate starfish.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Oh my god. What are you, 14?
Yes.
I have fun.
He's reliving his Fred Durst days.
I know, it's
Yeah,
like,
you have the both euphemisms that I use there, and then you have the ones that are more malign in their origin, which are just meant to make people not talk about shit. Because...
literally.
Yes.
Yeah,
Not talk about
and
things.
it's terms like chocolate starfish that make people use terms like powder ones. No.
Speaking of which, I'll be right back after I bloodwing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Now,
But,
see,
yeah.
that is at least not gross.
But yeah, there's ones that are meant to be kind of shock factor euphemisms, which, again,
Apparently,
corrections.
the only kind you know.
Corrections and EMS, they're absolutely rife with the shock factor euphemisms. Like, the patient was like a broken self-serve machine, for example.
No.
Yeah,
That one's a gross out euphemism.
yeah, we can do without all the.
Then
Please.
there's the ones that, like I said, they're meant to just dissuade conversation or really dissuade opposition, which are the ones that end up being like the mini love and the mini truth type deal, where everyone knows what the hell is actually, or people that look into it know what the hell's actually going on, but it sounds so lovely. So when you're talking about how you're fighting for justice for everyone, it makes it a lot harder for people to attack you, even though when you look into it, yeah, that's euphemistically phrasing it by a damn sight. Because most often when someone's fighting for justice for everyone, know that. And it's not justice. It's something entirely different.
It's usually some form of retribution.
Yep. And sadly, that form of euphemism is so goddamn common in government. Like I said, the Patriot Act is a really good example of that. That's fresh in everyone's mind. The violence against women.
Yeah,
Works in all kinds of shit.
some of it is marketing.
Yeah. Euphemisms are great for marketing.
It's the purpose of a lot of them,
Yep.
whether
And-
they're benign or not.
Mm-hmm. And it's just absolutely fascinating and worrying how well they work when they're used. Because we just have this language that is naturally lending itself to the use of euphemism.
Yeah, I think it's. I prefer to think of them as more, I don't know, entertaining ways of than focusing on the negative, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the richness and the texture of language.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm not by any means of the imagination saying that all euphemisms are negative. A lot of them are fun. A lot of them are positive little social, not quite lies, but
Well, they're useful to say something
Yeah.
is a disincentive instead of calling it a penalty or reprisal, or to refer to a public toilet as a comfort station, you know, or
Rest area.
you know, we killed a bunch of Iraqis in the hospital. No, we had some collateral damage.
Ethnic cleansing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's not exactly what. There's not much that you can do with that one, because ethnic cleansing on its own it's actually used probably to avoid overusing the term genocide.
Yep.
well, yeah, genocide, of course, has a larger, more comprehensive meaning, but ethnic cleansing is defined. This is kind of interesting. It's defined as eliminating people from racial or national backgrounds different from one's own.
Mhm.
And what you know, the interesting thing, what's the most interesting thing about that definition? It's the fact that eliminating is itself a euphemism for killing somebody.
Yes.
Yep.
So they say eliminating people, national or racial backgrounds different from your own. Well, eliminating is a euphemism for killing.
Mm-hmm.
I just meta kind of stuff, just kind of recursive logic makes me happy.
Oh, it's layer upon layer very often because we have synonymized so many words through being euphemistic in speech that really aren't. Decimate is an example. We've utterly removed the actual meaning of it and turned it into something else because wipe out is such an unpleasant phrase.
No, that's right. We say
we're not saying we're reducing a force by 1/10. We don't use decimate
the correct way anymore. We use it because, and also some of this comes out of the why not use the 50-cent word as opposed to the cheap and easy phrase. Oh yeah, you preach, sister.
But some of that comes from how we were taught language in school, don't you think, Skep?
Sure.
Particularly in our generation, where they wanted us to know as many synonyms as possible and use them.
We used to have to take tests on synonyms and antonyms and homonyms, and and we had to know the difference.
You had a copy of Roget's Thesaurus by 5th grade.
That's right. That's absolutely true.
And you were being tasked to write similes and metaphors and then do creative writing and to use those 50-cent words. And mostly that was to, I guess, teach people the majesty of the language.
Yeah.
Which exists. Mm-hmm. And for those people who write for a living, that kind of training it's invaluable. You can't put a price tag on people teaching you about language, its imprecision and precision. And to be able to analogize comes from that. Your ability to recognize like things, to create similes. It also comes out of logic. It's an overlap kind of between language acquisition and logical structure.
Yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, an analogy really belongs to logic. But
it's an interesting definition because and this is one of those things that has a lot of facets to it, because I am just continually assaulted by the functional aspect of euphemisms. We say something like reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Instead of taking something apart to see how it works and then copying it.
Yeah.
See, we're not that's actually that's actually using euphemism to make language more efficient.
Yes.
Everybody knows what reverse engineering means, and it means all those words, taking something apart to see how it works and then copying it. But we don't have a word. We're not like German, where we invent words that can't exist
that
in
last
other
for
languages.
A paragraph.
Right, yeah. And exactly.
Don't just smash two words together and say kiss.
Prospero knows like 3 or 4 German words that you have to have 4 sentences to describe what the word means.
Well, it's like Bachweivengesicht.
That's what I was trying to think of. I could not think of it.
A face in need of a punch.
Face in need of a punch. A punchable face.
A punchable face. A
slappable. I did not remember that.
A slappable face. And
yes.
Were it not for the Britisher, I would not know that word, because it came up in relation.
Hell, Britannia rules always.
Yes, it came up in speaking about certain people who have slappable faces. And one of those individuals, they were talking about two people, but one of them was David Hogg. That he just has a face that is just calls.
He has a punchable name.
Yes.
He has
like.
So everyone's heard glass jaw, right? He has a pre-shattered glass jaw somehow.
Well, yeah, and that adds to it. It's a peculiar thing because he's such a vile young man. He's so full of ill will toward his fellow man, and that is not as a result of what he went through. That is
Who is this?
David Hogg.
His jaw is held together with packing tape and spackle.
But he has an elfin face, which is peculiar on a male. That face on a woman would be described as elfin. On him, and coupled with intrinsic aspects of his personality, it's a backweifend Gesicht.
Yeah, probably caused by an XXY.
But Weltschmerz, Weltanschauung, words like that the Germans have come up with, are all, world weariness. Weltschmerz. They got one word for it. And
it's not one of the super duper German concatenated words that themselves go on for an entire paragraph. Only it's just one word.
But then again, there are German words like Zeitgeist that enter English.
That enter our Zeitgeist.
Yeah, but are very useful because Zeitgeist.
Oh, absolutely.
Is a perfect way of talking about the
spirit of the age,
the spirit of the age, the mindset of the generation.
Yep. We very happily and very readily steal whatever words are most useful.
Yes,
like umami.
Well, like kiosk.
Yep.
All languages do, though.
Yeah, Spanish uses kiosco for kiosk, and it's the only word really that has K in it, because K is not a letter that is used in Romance languages, particularly. It doesn't need to be because of C's, double C's, CH's being used. It's used in Germanic and Slavic languages more.
This is interesting because as soon as you said that, I said, is that right? I'll bet we can prove that out, what Prospero is saying, because I thought I agreed with you. So I looked up the most common Spanish words that start with K, and there is one, and it is it's from InfoAway. So I'm not back in Columbia University anymore. This is just a little bit of fun, but here are the Spanish words that they have beginning with K: kabuki, kaput, karaoke, kilocaloria. I'm going to skip the kilos. Kamikaze, Kampuchea. Are you seeing a trend here? Prospero is exactly right. Karate, kerosene, ketchup. They are all borrowed. Every fucking one of these things is borrowed.
Yep.
I am not. You were absolutely right. That's interesting.
Yeah, when I was
I didn't know that
younger kioska. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all place names are borrowed from Japanese or Russian.
Kashiwa is
that uses uses the K, or the anglicization of it uses the K. The pinyin of it uses the K, for want of a better term. But when I was, they were not. Well, of course, Kampuchea didn't exist. It was Cambodia. When I was studying Spanish, so it's
Cambodia, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it still's Cambodia to me.
Yep.
Fuck the Khmer Rouge.
In
the ass, hard, no lube.
I know that a friend of mine, he used to live in the Czech Republic, and whenever anyone would say Czechoslovakia, he would lose his mind.
Yeah, well, he
Because
needs to get over it because it's a 40-year concept.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's no longer with us, but
And yeah, well, given the way that the Czechs and the Slovaks love each other so much.
Yeah, no kidding.
but whenever anyone would be like, "Oh, are you from Czechoslovakia?" It's like, "No, I'm from the Czech Republic."
Okay, Voslev, we get
I'm
it.
not.
Check your privilege, please.
Yeah, it is interesting though how the end of the USSR and its eastern satellites then falling apart, the death of Tito and the breakdown of Yugoslavia, the map was utterly redrawn. I mean, now Skep and I have globes that still have on them, so that's about it. Sumer, and there are 2 rivers, and
there's a really nice garden right in the middle,
and they vague off in the direction of here be dragons.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then there are a whole bunch of little carrots to the east, but the if I were to go look at my World Book Globe from 1963, the number of countries that those names no longer exist is pretty stellar. I mean, Africa, the landmark map of Africa changed so dramatically in its naming construct, as did Eastern Europe. And it's
mine's from 67, so it's actually a little later than yours, but most of those changes had not happened yet. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you only would have had...
There's no Myanmar.
No, we can't Myanmar. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Are you talking about Burma? And it's just... It's Siam. I mean, there's still... that generation that used Siam have died out.
Yeah. I still think of it as Siam, though. You know, I still receive.
Siam, what I am.
The Siam. It always said Siam Peninsula.
Yeah.
On all those globes, or at least on my globe, it says Siam Peninsula, and I don't know. It's a curious thing. The development, the ebb and flow of language, the coming and going of words and traditions and customs with respect to how words are changing their meaning. You just think about how much English has changed just in our lifetimes, Prospero. Not just with the addition of all the new words from all the new technology, although that's a substantial source of new terms, but just all the different social scenarios you can potentially enter into in either in real life or online. I mean, online has changed everything. It's just added a completely new dimension to
there's an entirely
how we think about life.
Yeah, entirely different form of speech online.
Oh, very definitely. Very definitely.
Sadly, it fucks up some words royally.
It has, and then
literally,
and then lexicographers got very squishy and very compliant and not wanting to hurt anybody's feelings.
They let the language down, Prospero. You know that.
Oh, they absolutely have. Because I mean, I would never recommend a dictionary that didn't have etymology in it.
Yeah.
If somebody was looking for a dictionary for a high school student or a college student, because I was like, if you learn the roots of words, the Latin roots, the Greek roots, it's so much easier to figure out what other words that you come across with which you're unfamiliar.
Just take the roots apart.
Take the roots apart, and you'll have a better idea. Just 30 Days to a More Powerful Vocabulary was a very popular book for a while, and it stressed that.
I read that book.
Yeah, I did too.
Of course we did.
Part of my prep for SAT was to go through that book with a fine-tooth comb.
I need to get going.
Sorry, Johnny.
It is about that time.
It is.
Oh.
Well, Johnny, before you go, let me give my last words there.
Well,
And
I was gonna say, since we're almost there, I might as well just stick it out then.
Okay. I have a ending euphemism to end on, and this, if you're interested, I will share it with you. It's an excerpt from Macbeth, and in this excerpt, it's very, very, very short. So pay attention. Lady Macbeth is speaking, and she's telling her husband Macbeth to kill this guy Duncan. He's a king. Murder is was considered to be kind of an off-color topic, and one of the fun things about this little excerpt is that Shakespeare uses a euphemism, and the euphemism is to kill somebody. The way he said it was, he must be provided for. Here, let me read you it's just 2 or 3 lines. This is Lady Macbeth talking to her husband, wheedling him, nagging him to kill Duncan the king. And she says to her husband, Macbeth, to beguile the time, look like the time, bear a welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. He's that's coming must be provided for. And you shall put this great night's business into my dispatch, which shall to all our nights and days come, give solely sovereign sway and masterdom. God, that guy could write.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit. It just, that's awesome. That's just greatness.
It's why there is a glossary or side notes or 8,000 footnotes.
Cliff notes.
With Shakespeare. Yeah, Cliff Notes.
Cliff notes helped me. They organized my study patterns.
Yeah.
And I actually used them the way that they say that they are supposed to be used to organize your study of a work of literature. So I would actually read the literature because you can't keep me away from books. And then I would use the Cliff Notes to make sure I had a rigorous structural understanding of the piece I'd read.
A friend of mine said during English class, he's like, Lady Macbeth is proof that women can ruin anything.
Nice.
She is the stellar example. It's one of the reasons I call our current First Lady Dr. Lady Macbeth.
Absolutely. That is not only a good characterization, Prospero. That will stand the test of time, and I don't think I'll ever call her anything else at this point.
Yeah, I was
perfect.
I was trying to figure out who she reminded me of, and I thought, a bit. There's a bit of Borgia.
Well, yeah. See, that's the fun thing about literature is if you read a lot of stuff, you can get pictures of these people, like Lucretia Borgia, or Lady Macbeth, or any number of good and evil and strange and interesting people all throughout literature. You can get that picture in your head. I love that I have that. It's just, makes me appreciate life.
Yeah, there's just such the malign power behind the throne.
Yeah, except for she's not gonna be washing her hands 15 times to get the spots out.
But she's a doctor. She practices good hygiene.
Yeah, she knows how to wash for surgery, right?
You'd be a good surgeon general.
Scrub up.
Oh God.
But yes, it is that time. Who wants to go first in their parting words?
I already went.
Yeah, I'll go out the
Okay.
spot.
Nice.
There, I'm done.
Johnny?
To go back to a previous topic, the I Love Hate You Conrad song is a bane of my existence, of my childhood, and I wish I'd never heard it in the first place.
Fair enough.
Sora?
Have a good night. I can't think of anything more.
Fair enough. I'll leave off with my standard. If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, have a good night, all. The zoo is closed.
Good night,
Night.
everybody.
Good night.
Let it devour you is a euphemism.
Yep.